Hi, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another episode of the books I am looking forward to most in the next 2 months. May and June edition. And like you might suspect in these 2 months as we warm up, so do the books. Welcome to May 1st, aka Beltane, aka Clan Mai. If you know, you know. Enjoy it for those of you who celebrate, but make sure you're well rested enough for the 7th of May when we are getting an influx of books that sums up to an absolutely wild collection. Here we go. First off, Red Tower are determined to push out 4 books in the next 2 months. Supposedly on May 7th, we are getting one we did not know much about at all, called 5 Broken Blades by May Corlin. Pretty sure this is a debut, and I am pretty dang excited. They are putting out a sprayed edge edition, go get your book, but there are lots of other editions coming out in different colors as well. The original is in red, but so far I have seen a purple edition, a blue edition, and a teal edition. My favorite is the teal, but it seems really hard to get my hands on, so I got the purple one. Purple is my favorite color, so. Tagline, 'tis the season for treason. Purportedly there is romance in this, but I'm not hearing a ton of it in the summary, so we shall see. This is about God King June, and I was very much hoping he'd be the romantic interest. God King June is merciless and mortal and a total jerk, so we are no longer liking or rooting for King June. This kingdom is where like the nobles thrive and everyone else is really miserable. The 5 deadliest blades in the kingdom, I don't know if you need a certificate or something, don't ask me more, decide that they're gonna band together to murder this king/god. Literally God, so good freaking luck to them. In fact, desire for revenge is clearly not enough for this. No, they have to learn to trust one another in order to take down an actual freaking god. Good luck to them. We have like a hired hitman who wants to atone for his sins. We've got a lovely assassin who's seeking her freedom. Selena Sidothian, what are you doing in this book? And we even have a banished prince who you know I want to get together with the assassin immediately. There is just one problem. Only one of them can take the crown at the end. Take it all together, guys. Clearly having one king in the first place was the problem, but no one ever listens to me. We also are getting a much talked about book called The Ministry of Time by Kalan Bradley. This is her debut, and I'm almost positive this is going to be an option for the Book of the Month boxes. This is a time travel romance, a speculative spy thriller, a workplace comedy, and an exploration of the nature of truth and power and the potential for love to change those things. Okay. Basically, the question posed by the author apparently was, what happens if you put a disaffected millennial and a Victorian polar explorer in a house together? I don't know, but you know what? I want to find out. So essentially, we've got this woman civil servant, right? And she takes this interview and she's not really sure what it's for, but she's offered the salary of her dreams. And she's like, yes, sold, done, absolutely. What is my job? And she's told she's going to be working on this crazy project gathering expats, not from other countries, but from other times. It is going to be her job to help to determine whether or not time travel is feasible. And this is where I paused and was like, clearly it's feasible. You're gathering people from different times, but they're smarter than I am, and they're going to be setting her up to monitor one of their time travelers named Commander Graham. He is from the doomed 1845 expedition to the Arctic. They snatched him all up, and instead of letting them freeze to death like everyone thinks they did, they're now going to be little experiment called Bridges, and she's going to see if time travel ruins his body and mind slowly over time. And they're also going to be seeing if it, destroys the fabric of the time-space continuum. Now, he, of course, is scandalized by her calves and enamored by washing machines and Spotify, and other expats are loving Tinder and movies, and there's one former spy who keeps getting plastic surgery. Regardless, we're gonna have great fun with this one. Now, it is mired in a little bit of controversy because apparently there was this Spanish TV show 5-10 years back or something called El Ministerio del Tiempo, the Ministry of Time. And probably no one would have ever known anything about this, but this book was picked up by the BBC. And now the creator of that original show is like, hey, plagiarism, and fans of the original show are like, hey, plagiarism. I looked into Kalan Bradley a little bit, and she's not like a total newbie. This is, yes, her debut novel, but she did win a short story competition that was fairly prestigious in 2022. She's an English Cambodian writer who doesn't speak Spanish and says she's never seen the show, and I'm inclined to believe her about that. And the book, in fact, was not originally even called The Ministry of Time. Given that her short story that won was called Doggerland, I do believe that her publishers were like, we're gonna rename your book. I can't speak to whether or not there is plagiarism going on. I can speak to the fact that she is getting review bombed on Goodreads, and I feel really bad for her, so I'm definitely going to be reading this book and seeing what I think. Like, we've seen Ministries of Time run by the government, so seems like a stretch to me, but I can't say for sure. Next up, we have The Return of Ellie Black, also on May 7th by Emiko Jean, another debut. This is about a detective named Chelsea Calhoun, and 20 years ago, her sister completely vanished when they were teenagers and never to be seen again. Yeah, that's not traumatizing at all. She's been searching ever since for clues, signs, closure, and now other missing girls. Like, it's literally her job. It's not a line of work with a lot of happy endings, but lo and behold, there's a bright, shining, glorious beacon of hope in the form of the actual girl named Ellie Black. She is found in the Washington woods, randomly, literally sitting there, 2 years after she had just gone missing, just like Chelsea's sister. But Ellie's not quite right. And she also won't say, like, where she's been or who she was with and, like, who is she protecting. And Chelsea, like, obviously, she feels like she has to solve it. Because, like, what if another girl goes missing? Also, like, obviously, she has to do it in honor of her sister. Do you have a therapist, Chelsea? Red Tower is also publishing another book on May 7th. It is called Heaven Breaker by Sarah Wolf. And I love to think it was tagline. This one is bravery isn't what you do, it's what you endure. The only way that I'm gonna be brave in this lifetime. This is like fantasy meets sci-fi. It is set on a massive space station. I win. This is going to be my first sci-fi, if it counts. So it houses the last of humanity, and let me tell you, there's a king, he rules it, the nobles dance, and the commoners starve. It sucks to be on the space station for the vast majority of people. If the commoners aren't starving, they are required to watch these giant tournaments, and in those giant tournaments are giant robots called steeds. And they used to be used for war, but now they're used for jousting matches. There's riding, there's lances, there's matches against a giant gravity generator. I don't know what that means or what it looks like, but that's what the description says, so I'm telling you about it. Only the nobles can ride these things and thus have the glory and the blood. I don't know if they mean that in like a metaphorical sense. Our main chick that we're going to be following in this book is Cinnalie von Hauteclair. Her mother is a commoner and her father is a duke, and she, unfortunately, is a bastard. Oh, and she just committed patricide. So now she will be taking Danny's spot and riding the family robot named Heaven Breaker. There's the title. She will be competing against her romantic interest. And unfortunately for her, the stakes are seriously about to be upped because she's also going to be dealing with this unknown horrifying entity in the robot Heaven Breaker who has some sort of like sentience. Good luck to Cinnalie. And the last book I'm going to be talking about on May 7th is This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. And while I did not love her first book and thus did not read her second, this one sounds like it's a little more mature and maybe her writing's a little more mature, so maybe I will give it a shot. Plus I love the cover. This is about Lucy and Felix who have incredible chemistry, which they rediscover every single summer when they return to Prince Edward Island. But for reasons, the biggest one of which, that Felix is Lucy's bestie's Bridget's younger brother. Follow that one. They really should not be together. So every year they swear they're going to stay apart and resist one another, and every year they give in to temptation. But at least Lucy keeps her heart out of it. That is until suddenly Bridget flees to the island unexpectedly 1 week before her wedding, and Lucy, obviously as besties do, simply has to follow her and help her deal with the fallout and trauma and the crisis in general. But Felix, when she gets there, is like less flirtatious quips and more something else. We're just getting ellipses. I can't tell you more. And now she can't help but wonder if her heart is still safe. Obviously it's not. It's Carly Fortune. It's a summer romance. Spoilers. Sorry. May 14th, I am so excited for The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. And the more I hear about it, the more excited I get. Okay, so this takes place on the Isle of Innisfree, which has like fans in and of itself, okay? See the Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. So the Honey Witch living on the Isle of Innisfree unfortunately gets the gorgeous island, but she can never find love. Like it's a curse. But when Marigold Claude's grandmother comes like sometime around her 21st birthday and whisks her way to the Isle and offers to like teach her to be the next Honey Witch, she is all for it because quite frankly, she has always preferred the spirits of the meadow to like the suitors who have come and tried to woo her. She's got magic, she's got independence, and now she's got a visitor on her doorstep named Lottie, who is a grumpy skeptic who absolutely does not believe in magic and what's a witch to do but well, prove her wrong. And of course, she's gonna fall for the gal, which shouldn't happen, and yet. But then a dark magic awakens and threatens her home, and she must fight for her home, her magic, and her heart. I am so psyched for this book. On May 14th, a book that I have become less and less excited about the more I found out about it is When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. But I'm still mentioning it because she wrote Divergent and thus she probably has lots of fans. The only reason I'm less excited about it is because I just found out that it's a novella and I need more length. You know what? I'm gonna go with Sir Mix-a-Lot and say I like big books, and I cannot lie, so novellas very rarely satisfy me. This is an urban fantasy set in Chicago based in Slavic myth, and Slavic myth has been really intriguing me lately, which is why I was originally interested in this, because we got Baba Yaga. This is a world where we've got horrifying monsters that feed on human emotions, knights that literally split their souls to make their weapons, and witches that always take more than they give. This is about Demeter. It is not spelled like the goddess, and it's a he, who is raised to kill monsters and literally split his soul in half, and as we heard might happen, to make his sword, which, here is a detail I didn't need to know, which is made from his own goddamn spine. That's where apparently pain is his calling. Meanwhile, our other main character, Alla, who seems at least relatively sane, pain is her inheritance, unfortunately, and she gets to live out the family curse she's stuck with and bear witness to all of the horrors that are committed by the Holy Order. And this will eventually kill her, unless she finds a cure. So, these two depressing characters somehow find one another and team up together to find Baba Yaga, because apparently Baba Yaga may know the location of the one single flower that may be the one single cure for Alla, only the stupid flower is going to die tomorrow. Of course, the catch is that Alla does not know Demeter's true, identity because, well, let's face it, he probably is not going to go meet Baba Yaga and say hello and have a cup of tea and find out the location of the flower. No, we know what he does to monsters, and that is really going to conflict with what Alla needs. Fun times. Now for some very different vibes. May 14th also brings us The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, and I'm very confused by the cover because to me this is tropical islands and I'm not getting tropical anything from this description. Please meet Anna Green. She is a starving, free-spirited artist living paycheck to paycheck, and West, who will be playing her counterpart in this book, who is a buttoned-up Stanford professor. We love this trope, don't we? These two geniuses already tied the knot to access subsidized family housing while they were in colleges, and they think they got divorced on graduation day, but no, one of them forgot to sign the divorce papers. Can you guess which one? It's not the buttoned-up professor. West is in an interesting situation because he is facing an only in a book, but at least identified as antiquated, clause in his grandfather's will that says he must be happily married for 5 years before he can get his inheritance of, wait for it, $100 million. That's right, West is nicknamed after his family's business, the Weston Food Conglomerate. Of course, he thinks that the business is heartless and he wants nothing to do with it because we must have a pure male love interest. Now, he is in the home stretch here when his family is we would like to meet your wife. She's feisty, she's foul-mouthed, she's paint-spattered, and yet somehow when they all get together, he's terrified that his 1%er family are going to be the ones to corrupt her pure heart. So tell me, just what is the price tag for losing true love, especially when it stems from a lie? Questions. May 14th also brings us a book that is absolutely 100% for the Vampire Diaries and Twilight fans, and I say this because we are finally getting an American Civil War story with vampires. Here's the backstory y'all wanted, folks. Lauren Blackwood is finally giving it to us. It's called The Dangerous One, so should be interesting. It also features demigods, by the way, who are literally called saints, and it's the Saints and the Union versus the Confederacy and the vampires, who apparently also found a use for slaves. Oh, you would think I figured this out sooner. Anyway, this is about Jerusalem, who is a saint who was previously enslaved by a vampire, and now she wants revenge for being enslaved and also the murder of her entire family. Rough start to life. But now she's escaped and she's got insider knowledge that she can use. She is unexpectedly teamed up with a turncoat vampire to help others so that they don't have to go through what she did. Apparently, it's about more than justice. It's about killing a god. God. I don't know if they mean that literally or, figuratively. Who knows? The last book we are seeing on May 14th is a book called Spitting Gold. This is a debut by Carmela Locus. It is for fans of Sarah Wells, Dunauer, and Sarah Penner. Do know her, love her. This is the author of Lost Apothecary and The London Seance Society, both of which I enjoyed, and I think she just keeps getting better and better. So, we've got a gothic mystery set in 19th century Paris with a sapphic romance. You're sold already, right? This is about Baroness Sylvie Devereaux. She is about to be persuaded to join her disowned sister named Charlotte, who is coming to her because poor Charlotte just can't pay their father's bills because he has just fallen ill. I don't know if the Baroness is a jerk or her sister was a jerk, but something feels off here. Anyway, their plan is simple. These two were previously celebrated fraudulent mediums, and they're going to pull off one last con on the dysfunctional aristocrats who are convinced that they are haunted by their great aunt who was brutally murdered in the French Revolution. The sisters pull out every trick they've got to get their gold, and by this I mean they're just flat out trying to terrify the family. However, when horrifying things start happening to them, they kind of have to wonder, like, is this haunting real? Oh my god, are all of our secrets gonna come out and are we gonna get, exposed as frauds? Good luck, guys. May 21st brings us the sequel to The Guncle. I haven't read it, but it looks cute. I just wanted to mention it. It's called The Guncle Abroad by Stephen Rowley, and this time Patrick is returning to his Guncle duties for his niece and nephew at a big family wedding in Lake Como, Italy. It looks warm, funny, and sunny, and like a great summertime read. And now we're really gonna switch the feels here and go to When We Were Silent by Fiona McPhillips. Look at this cover. Like, you could walk into that, right? This is a part thriller, part dark academia suspense novel. This takes place at Highfield Manor, Dublin's most exclusive private school, and stars its newest student, of course, Louise Manson. Now behind its granite walls, and it's like high fees and general gatekeeping, are high-arched alcoves, an oak-lined library, and a dark secret that Lou has come to expose. At first she has a little trouble fitting in because she comes from a working class background, but eventually she does befriend some really beautiful and wealthy classmates, and then she gets to work on the secret only to wind up with a body at her feet. And then apparently we get a time jump. 30 years later, a lawyer is trying to bring a lawsuit against the school and they need Lou to testify, and this is going to force Lou to confront her past and discover what really happened at Highfield once and for all. I will probably wait to read this when I hit my dark academia stride in September, but it sounds delicious. On May 21st, we are also getting Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. This is the same author as Kaikeyi, and we are getting a reimagining of the story of Ganja, who is the goddess of the river. This is the Hindu river goddess. So, Ganja starts out as this really joyful goddess. She's the caretaker of the godlings who roam her banks, and then the godlings tick off a really powerful sage, and Ganja is cursed to become immortal until she fulfills the obligations of her curse. She kind of lands on her feet by marrying a king, Shantahu, and she becomes the queen, which apparently sets her right on course to earning her freedom. But because apparently this book likes irony and hates happiness, she earns her freedom just in time to be forced to leave her infant son behind. Her son, Prince Deverata, unknowingly carries on her curse. Is this like a loophole or something? She defeated it. What gives? And when he vows he will never take the throne, he sets in motion a series of events that will end in a terrible and tragic war. Throughout everything, Ganja and Deverata are continually drawn together by fate and their unwavering bond throughout this tale of duty, destiny, and I'm adding depression. On May 21st, we have something that I absolutely will not be reading. This is a collection of 12 short stories of varying degrees of darkness and depravity coming to you from Stephen King. If you would like some nightmare-inducing fodder to enhance your past traumas, your present phobias, and maybe even give you some new future fears, here you go. But you are all on your own with these things that go bump in the night. And if you like it darker, you may be watching the wrong channel. But if you've made it this far, probably not. A thriller I will be enjoying that comes out on May 21st is One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware, one of my favorite thriller writers, and she is returning to her one by one roots with a storm-swept, isolated group stuck on an island with probably, the killer. This is about Lila, and Lila is unfortunately in like a little bit of a rut. Her PhD is kind of fizzled out, and things with her boyfriend, aspiring actor Nico, are like not going that great. And then one day Nico gets a phone call and they get a chance to audition for a new reality show called One Perfect Couple. And like, am I the last person in the like, whole entire world to know that aspiring actors are like the ones who go on a bunch of these reality shows? Like, I'm the last one, aren't I? I feel so cheated, fooled, stupid. Anyway, she agrees to audition, and before she knows it, she is boating through the Indian Ocean, headed towards Ever After Island, a place that sounds lovely to visit, and I would normally say, take me with you, but this is a Ruth Ware book. I don't want to go. And they are headed off to compete for the cash prize. Only things start to go wrong really fast. I know, we're all so shocked. The first challenge is kind of a disaster, and everybody ends off like really angry at one another. And then that very same night, there's this giant storm. And things go from bad to worse because now they are totally cut off from the mainland and unable to contact the crew. So tensions are running high, freshwater supply is running low, and the game is now really, really real with real life and death stakes. May the best couple win. The next book may not sound like one I would totally be into, but I am so freaking excited because we are getting a new book from Stuart Turton, the author of The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hugo. And oh my goodness, you guys, I still remember laying in bed up like until the birds started chirping, reading this book. If you can still remember where you were reading a book like from years ago, you know that is an incredible book. So I am very excited for the last murder at the end of the world, set in an extraordinary backdrop with an audacious solution. No one uses the word audacious anymore. I love it. So are you ready to solve the murder and save what's left of the world? That's right, outside the island, nothing, nada, zip, zero, zilch. All life has been destroyed by this fog that killed anything and everything that it touched. On the island, an idyllic life with 122 people. Bet that doesn't get incestuous. And 3 scientists living in peaceful harmony. Villagers fish and farm and obey their curfew and generally listen to the scientists. And then, disaster, tragedy, the unthinkable happens. A beloved scientist is stabbed to death. This is really bad because it has triggered the island automatic lowering of its security system. That's right, the only thing keeping them safe from the killer fog will be gone. If, that is, the murder is not solved in 107 hours. It's really a shame then that everyone's memories have also been wiped, including the murderers. And this also means that no one on the island even knows that there's a murderer on the loose. TikTok, guys. May 21st also brings us Lies and Weddings from Kevin Kwan. This is the guy who wrote Crazy Rich Asians, which no, I haven't read, and no, I haven't watched, but man, I have seen some of the outfits from that movie and they are phenomenal. This is about Rufus Leving Gresham, future Duke of Greshambury, and son of a former supermodel. He is unfortunately hiding a mountain of debt behind his magazine covers and Instagram stories filled with manners and yachts. The solution proposed by Mummy Dearest is to marry rich, of course. And where better to find his unsuspecting Duchess than his sister's upcoming nuptials at a luxury eco resort, which to me sounds like an oxymoron. It will be a veritable who's who of sultans, barons, and oligarchs. The typical crowd. He basically has an entire menu he can choose from. Does he want Solène de Courcy, French hotel heiress with some royal blood wine sprinkled in there, and honey tresses? Does he want Martha Dung, who I say he should marry just to save her from her last name, the tattooed venture capital genius who passes out millions like party favors? Or should he follow his heart and marry the girl next door, Eden, who's just the daughter of a doctor and not filthy rich? Of course, nothing is this simple, and there's a hot mic incident during the nuptials that exposes a secret family tryst. And apparently there's also like a 20-year-old secret family tragedy that's been lurking in the shadows as well. So, if you want something nice and salacious and feel like going globetrotting this summer, watching the elite burn through fortunes and watching the Greshams set their reputations ablaze, here you go. Also, while I was reading the summary, there were a ton of like volcano references. I assumed it was all metaphorical, but then I saw the cover, and now I think there's like maybe a 2% chance we're gonna get to play with floor is lava for real in this book. May 23rd, Megan Scott decided that Tuesday wasn't good enough for her and she wants to be published on a Thursday. We are getting The Temptation of magic. This is book 1 in the Imperial series. That's right, Imperial, not Empyrean. I finally had to look up what the root is for this word. Apparently it comes from the Greek word Empiros, and that means fire. You're welcome for your etymology lesson of the day. Apparently this is going to be Serpent and Dove meets A Discovery of Witches, as in it is a luxurious, forbidden romance, and that better not mean slow burn. Now, this is about Nicole, the least magical name ever. I'm sorry if you're named Nicole. It's a lovely name. It's a great name for a human being. Not necessarily an Imperial. Someone who has the ability to kill any deadly supernatural. If her power is ever awakened, she has 2 choices. 1, become a huntress for the Wake, the organization that governs supernaturals, or be killed, like the Wake did to her mummy. So to stay safe, Nicole has gone and hidden herself away in a small university town where she is totally convinced that the mythological art collection at this local manor has a final message from her mother for her. Before she can really get into studying it, Kian, the Wake's most skilled Imperial, of course he is, arrives hunted, and apparently his prey has been very, very naughty because he has stolen a painting from that very manor for leverage. So the 2 of these guys are now obviously forced to work together. I don't see how that's obvious, because you would think he would go to the manor owner or the curator of the artwork, but whatever. Nicole, she's not having a great time with this, you know. He is a threat to her, and apparently this creature is kind of really a jerk because he's not only stolen a painting, but he is threatening to expose her powers. And of course, Kian is threatening her heart. It says it in the summary, so I'm telling you. Of course, if he finds out her identity, he'll be hunting her next because no one defies the Wake and survives. And then there's this whole thing where it turns out that the art that they're seeking actually hides this whole conspiracy that would change the lives of humans and creatures forever. Because of course it does. But in case you forgot the title of the book, Nicole may only be able to resist one thing. Either a love that could repaint their world, I really appreciate the pun that they use there, or her wicked impulses. And no, that's not a repeat of the last one. They mean the temptation of magic. How long can you hide your true nature? May 28th brings us one book that everybody knows about, and that is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. What I didn't know is that it's part of a series. It's book 1 in the Summoner's Circle. Also, the summary really caught me by surprise. The one being that you really don't want to know your name is the devil, and he has got David Aristokov's name down cold. Previous teen psychic David has spent years operating under the shadow of his oppressive occultist father. Are there any occultists who aren't oppressive? Years later, he's almost 30 and pretty darn happy with his life. He's a high-powered Boston attorney, and he occasionally moonlights as a powerful medium. Now that his father is dead and his 30th birthday is approaching, the devil has come to collect an ancestral debt because, as we all know, since I'm pretty sure you're all fantasy readers here, all power has his price. His days are numbered, and the cold, icy breath of death is upon his neck. If you got that reference, I love you for it. And his only hope, maybe the only person he ever trusted, his ex, Reese, who's also his current rival in his secret society. But the only way to get to Reese is to go through his wife, Moira. Thrust, it says thrust, into each other's care. Once buried emotions resurface. But don't worry for Moira, because the trio race to figure out their feelings for one another before the devil steals David away for good. That's right, we're getting a throuple! S.T. Gibson just loves to challenge the status quo and give us such interesting couples, and we're getting a throuple! I can't wait. Also, when I originally saw this cover, I totally thought it was a vampire thing, you know, the upside down. No, I get it now. It's the Tower of Cards, the Hanged Man. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot for not getting that reference. And finally, May 28th is a book I'm so excited for. If you watched my channel at all last fall, which you probably didn't because I just started last fall, you know that I was obsessed with the book Bewitched, and we are getting the sequel, Bespelled, on May 28th. This is by Laura Thalassa, and I obviously can't tell you anything about it because it's a sequel, but I'm going to give you the summary of the first book, literally by memory. It's a blank page. I wrote their names. This is about a witch named Celine, and she really wants to get into a coven, but she's kind of in denial a lot because her powers, although pretty darn good, sort of have a price, and the price for some people is not too bad, but for her, unfortunately, they take away her memories, and this is really bad when you need to remember things for spells, but also remember that you cannot tell anybody that you are a witch because witches are secret in this world. So she keeps applying for covens, and they're finally, look, you need to go do some really great magical adventure thing to really up the ante, prove you're worth it, and really fill out that resume for us, and then fine, we'll let you in. So she decides to pay to go on one of these magical excursions, and while she's on the plane, headed towards it. They're flying over a jungle. All of a sudden, this really dark magical entity seizes the plane and is like, I'm going to make you crash. It doesn't actually say that. She feels it tugging it down. She runs up to the cockpit. She uses her magic to safely manage an emergency landing of the plane down in this jungle. Everyone's like, oh my god, we're stuck in a jungle, but we didn't die. This is good. She, meanwhile, is pissed. She wants to go find the dark magical entity that landed her in a jungle. She's glaring at crocodiles. She's glaring at rats. She's glaring at jaguars. She's not looking at the giant bugs that are roughly the size of saucers and dinner plates and should never ever exist on this planet. She finds a temple and it basically has a magical do not enter sign. So what does she do? Of course she enters. She breaks all the barriers that she should never be able to break because they are like the world's most complicated magical security system. She heads on down to the bottom and that's where she finds a perfectly preserved, incredibly hot guy. He looks like he's totally fine, except he's asleep. Oh no, wait, he's sitting up. He's awake. He is named Memnon, and apparently he thinks she is his wife, the very wife who cursed him to be stuck in this place and like in suspended animation for like hundreds, thousands of years. She's like, clearly I'm not your wife. You've been down here for how long? I'm like 20. No, but you're hot. But no. And she runs away, steals everything back up. By then, the rescue people have arrived to help everyone on the plane. She's like, yay! She returns back home, and the coven she applied to is like, oh my god, come live on our campus. You did a great job. You landed a freaking plane without a bunch of people noticing. Clearly, you deserve to be here, and you remembered you applied. So come on down. She moves in. She's ready for the semester to start. Things are going great. Memnon shows up. Murders on campus begin. Go read the book. It's so good. Oh my god, the chemistry between these two, like the enemies to lovers stuff. And the mystery's not bad either. Sorry. I really loved that book. And if I can do that all from memory, having read that book like last August, you know it's good. And that's why I was crowing about it for months. And now I'm crowing about it again. I cannot wait. But now it is time for our next month's books. Get ready to swoon in June because man, is this month romance heavy. Okay, we're starting off with not a romance novel, but I swear they're in here. The first book that I'm going to talk about is The God and the Gumiho, and I am not going to be saying any of these words right that are coming up, by Sophie Kim. Now this is about Kim Hani, coincidence I'm sure, former infamous Scarlet Fox, but apparently she is like a fox demon spirit thingy that had like a bunch of tails. And anyway, she has retired from that and she's no longer eating souls because she's simply too full. And I don't want to know how many souls it takes to be full. Now she is spending her days working in a coffee shop, blinging lattes, and annoying a trickster god as much as she possibly can. And his name is Sioka, I think.
Sioka.
The Fallen, not a moniker you want, but he has literally been exiled from the heavenly kingdom of Okwong. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong too. He is begrudgingly living in this mortal realm. Dude, what choice do you have? Accept it. Enjoy it. Well, he earns his redemption. But when a powerful demon escapes from the underworld, Okwong's emperor offers Sioka a bargain. He's like, dude, I'll give you a 1 ticket back to full god status if you can kill the demon, and while you're at it, get the Scarlet Fox, who, like, by the way, has totally been minding her own business, just making lattes. Like, hold a grudge much? Sioka might be the trickster god, but now it's Hani who needs to come up with a trick of her own and fast, because she really needs him not to find out her true identity, because, you know, she's the Scarlet Fox. So she's like, hey, you know what? Why don't you let me be your assistant? I'll totally help you out. And he's like, and I don't actually know what his reaction was, but I'm sure he was like, okay. This, of course, gives her the chance to sabotage and undermine him. And I mean, she's even going to totally help him with the actual, like, bad demon guy. But as they follow, like, the path of destruction, will they prevent the apocalypse? Or will their secrets get in the way? I'm not sure, but it sounds like fun, and I think I might want to find out, even if I can't pronounce anyone's name or any of the places in the whole entire book. June 4th, let's start with the romances. Here comes Daydream. This is the 3rd book in the Maple Hills series by Hannah Grace, Icebreaker, Wildfire, those. And if Probably Smut does not follow up with their special special editions, I am gonna be crushed. This is about Junior Henry Turner, and his procrastination has unfortunately landed him in like a super hard class with a professor he totally hates. Now add in the fact that he is the captain of the hockey team, a responsibility he also totally did not want, and he cannot fail this class. Enter one Hallie Jacobs. She is a new accidental friend who we met when he kind of crashed her book club by mistake. Hallie offers to help out Henry when she realizes that, wow, he is super struggling with the reading material and it's kind of her strong suit. But being a private tutor is a lot to handle at the moment when she is juggling her own class's job and a novel she's trying to write. Yeah, our girl's an overachiever. That novel is especially tricky since she's got some writer's block going on, and it mostly stems from the fact that she's trying to write a romance novel but kind of lacks some real life experience in that department. And since they say, you know, write what you know, and Henry's kind of like right there and all, well, he promises he can totally help her out. All they have to do is stick to their rule book and not fall in love. June 4th also brings us this completely random find. I saw the cover and it literally made me laugh out loud. I was also tired, but it still cracked me up. This is by Caitlin Doyle and it's called Just Some Stupid Love Story. Even the irreverent title just gets me, and I really hope the book lives up to the vibes. Apparently it's not that random of a find though, because I swear to you, I saw a copy on Amazon with sprayed edges. Are we just getting sprayed edges for everything now? Like, I'm not complaining, but what are the environmental implications? No? Okay. We have Molly Marks. She is a Hollywood rom-com writer, and this is why she knows that romance is total crap. She only fell in love once, and this was way back in high school with this guy named Seth, her high school boyfriend, and she ghosted him on the night of graduation and has not seen him since. You ghosted him. Like, what gives? Seth, whose side I'm on, totally believes in the big, grand, fireworks, soulmate kind of love. Same, Seth. This is why I'm married. Despite being one of Chicago's best divorce attorneys. And like, he's dated plenty, but no one can compare it to his first love and the girl who also broke his heart. That's right. Molly Marks over here. Enter a perfectly timed 15-year high school reunion where, of course, they are inevitably set to be seated at the same table. They get drunk. They hook up, and instead of doing something normal after hooking up, like, I don't know, pillow talk, showering, getting a snack, exchanging numbers, doing the walk of shame or strut of pride, no, they make a bet. Whoever can predict the fate of 5 couples before the next upcoming high school reunion must be declared the winner of who is right about true love. The catch, 5th couple is them. Molly says theirs is a tale of heartbreak and woe, much like that of Juliet and her Romeo, But Seth says that she is going to end up hopelessly in love with him, and he has 5 years to make it happen. Go, Seth, go. June 4th also brings up one of the books I have been anticipating most, and this got pushed so many times because guess who it's from? Red Tower Books. Yep, you got it right. So this is the Wren in the Holly Library. I just love the title even. Look at the cover. I'm dying here. And this comes from K.A. Lind, who I know nothing about. So this is described and was described for so long. We got nothing but this as a darker shade of magic meets 6 of crows. And on Goodreads, that's still all that's there. But I found the description, and here it is. 13 years ago, monsters emerged from the shadows and plunged Kirsch's world into a cataclysmic disaster of near total destruction. Yikes! New York City, as she knew it, and as we know it, practically collapsed overnight. Enter the Monster Treaty, a truce of sorts. But tonight, Kirsha, gifted and fearless thief, did I not mention that part, is going to break that treaty. Girl, don't do it. Don't do it. By entering the Holly Library. We don't know why. She just doesn't know it belongs to a monster. Well, maybe she doesn't know she's breaking the treaty. He's charming, quietly alluring, and terrifying. But he knows talent when he sees it. He just has to find her price. And so Kirsha is now locked into a dangerous bargain with a creature unlike any other. She'll sacrifice her freedom, she'll offer her skills, and together they'll put their futures at risk. For what? I don't know. But she doesn't know. This is a game that he has been playing for centuries, and that once Kirsha joins, there'll be no escape. I'm hearing a new twist on Beauty and the Beast. And although I purposely try very hard not to look at any reviews before I read books myself, I'm just going to give you this little tidbit. Multiple spicy scenes with dirty talk and fun positions, but no extreme kinks or multiple partners yet. Oh my god, give me this book right now, please. June 11th also brings us the Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, and this will probably be a Book of the Month pick because she is a Book of the Month darling, and she is my darling as well, quite frankly. So, after a lifetime of studying, obsessing over, and writing romantic comedies, Emma Wheeler's dream is to be a screenwriter. And she's good! She's won contests! But she's also the sole caretaker for her sick and really sweet dad, and he needs round-the-clock care. But finally, she gets the chance to rewrite a script for the Charlie Yates. He's not real, famous in the book, okay? He is her personal writing god. So her younger sister agrees to step in for the 6 weeks that she needs to fly up to LA and make her dreams come true. Only, you know how they say never meet your heroes? Charlie's kind of a dick. He doesn't want to work with nobody, and his rom-com is so bad. Emma fears it may actually be a catalyst for the apocalypse. Plus, he doesn't even care about the script. It's just like black and white fluff he needs to get on paper in order to get the script he really cares about greenlit. Oh, and he also thinks that love is some kind of emotional Ponzi scheme. Emma is not going down without a fight, and basically is a champion for the script, for rom-coms, and for love itself. She'll convince him romance is real, even if she has to kiss some gosh darn sense into him. I love this trope, and I'm so glad it's trending right now. June 11th just keeps giving and giving, and it is giving us Ellie Hazelwood's next book, Not in Love. She is returning to her feminist roots. I'm assuming there will not be any, well, nodding in this one. Apparently, all is there in love and science. So meet Rue. She is a successful biotech engineer at Klein, one of the most promising startups in the field of food science. She might not have everything, but she's got a few great friends who will always be there for her financial stability, and her world is pleasant and stable. Enter Eli Kilgore, who sounds like a serial killer. He is the offensively attractive man leading his business partners in a hostile takeover of Klein, and he always gets what he wants. Except apparently for Rue. He just can't get her out of his head. And eventually the two give into their forbidden romance, because that's what it says in the description. They have a torrid secret affair with no strings attached and a hard expiration date. That is, whenever one of their companies finally win this standoff. But will their chemistry just be too much to give up? June 11th also brings us The Housemaid Is Watching from Frida McFadden. This is the 3rd book in the Housemaid series, and I'm just generally confused as to why we're getting thriller series now. Like, I just can't believe that one person continually gets involved in this many, like, death-defying situations. It's not a cozy mystery, and, like, those murders happen around one person, so my suspension of disbelief just does not extend to a series of thrillers, I'm sorry to say, and you'll be hearing me repeat this again later. But in case anyone did love The Housemaid, here's the next book. I know I'm the odd one out here, so please enjoy. June 12th, a Wednesday, sure, okay, why not? But we are gonna forgive to Sonia Odette because A Rivalry of Hearts sounds amazing. If she sounds familiar, she did the Fair Isle trilogy and the Entangled with Fae trilogy. That's the one with Curse of the Wolf King, which was really, really good. And this new series, wait for what it's called, Fae Flings and Corset Strings. And it takes place in the same world as her other books, and these are all going to be standalones. I love you so much for giving us this. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have got academic rivals, enemies to lovers, and quirky heroines happening in this new series. Now, we're fantasy readers. We know what her main character knows. Don't bargain with the Fae, don't get drunk on Fae wine, and yet on her very first trip into the Faelands, this is exactly what Edwina did, and now she is trapped in a magic-fueled bet with a Fae she would kind of rather forget. The prize, a prestigious publishing contract. That's right, the writers. And to win it, she just has to bed more lovers on their upcoming book tour than her rival, William Hayward, who's a Fae. Now, this should be super easy because she is a romance writer who's known for her scintillating whirlwind romances and her titillating bedroom scenes. Too bad most of her experience in her head and on paper. And William, well, he's not exactly really worried about, like, his career potentially tanking if he doesn't win this, unlike, you know, Edwina, but he is not going down without a fight. Unless, of course, it's a different kind of going down we're talking about here. This is going to be a fun one. June 13th is bringing us a book I'm really excited for, and I'm surprised I've not heard more about or seen any big book companies like announce special editions to buy yet, quite frankly. And that is Running Close to the Wind by Alexandra Rowland. This is the same author of A Taste of Gold and Iron, and it kind of sounds like that book mixed with the adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. Hear me out. It takes place in the same world as A Taste of Gold and Iron, which I completely loved, and this is about Avra, who is a former field agent of the Irasti Ministry of Intelligence. He has accidentally stolen the single most expensive secret in the world, and the only place to run and hide with a secret this big is the wide open sea. I think he's got an off-again, on-again ex who happens to be a captain named Teferi. The two of them aren't exactly like thrilled to see one another, but they do hatch a plan. Take the info to the isolated pirate republic of the Isles of Lost Souls and sell it. But of course, there's a few tiny snafus. One, a Rasti ambassador to the Isles of Lost Souls, who is, of course, a new crew member named Brother Julian, who has secrets of his own and a seriously inconvenient vow of celibacy. And two, sea serpent breeding season. But if they pull this off, they're going to be wealthy as kings and total legends. June 18th, I'm returning to my whining about thrillers should not be getting sequels, and we're getting a sequel to The Last Mrs. Parrish. All about unlikable rich characters. This is about the girl named Amber who decides she wants to, like, seduce the husband and become the new Mrs. Parrish. Remember that one? Well, Liv Constantine, after 6.5 years, has decided to give us the next Mrs. Parrish. And apparently some previous Mrs. Parrishes are getting together for some reason after all these years. Why? I also didn't like the book that much. Maybe if a thriller I loved gets a sequel, I will be eating my words. But for now, I say why. June 18th is also when Middle of the Night comes out. That is Riley Sager's next book. I've never read Riley Sager. I should be sitting here covered in feathers and clucking because I am a big giant chicken. This one does sound more thriller than horror, and it does take place in New Jersey, so that I don't want to have nightmares. If there are a safe Riley Sager, let me know. I know there are a lot of fans, so I will give you a brief little description. One night in this very quiet cul-de-sac, two 10-year-old boys set up this adorable little tent to have a little sleepover on this nice manicured lawn, and in the morning, Ethan wakes up in his nice backyard, and the tent is slashed with a knife, and his bestie Billy has disappeared. Gone. That's it. He never sees Billy again. 30 years later, we get to see Ethan back in his childhood home for reasons unknown, but he's not thrilled about it. And all of a sudden, he has insomnia and seems to be haunted by Billy. He decides he's going to start investigating the woods behind his house, where there's this freaking creepy old institute where apparently questionable and clandestine research took place, and there's also a crumbling estate. Okay, Riley Sager, you're just going for all of it, aren't you? And Ethan realizes that the past has a way of haunting the present. I do like that phrasing. Apparently, this is the first male main character, and this is something a lot of people have been asking Riley Sager for, so if you're one of them, please enjoy. A thriller I am super looking forward to that is also coming out on this day, and that is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. Another book of the month, darling. I cannot wait. She's one of my favorite thriller writers, and this one sounds wild, okay? Secrets, lies, murders, the festivities begin in this locked room murder mystery. Please get your best poses and filters ready because it is opening night at the manor, and no expense has been spared. The seaside cottages and woodland hutches have their crystal-filled pouches for healing, of course, and the drinks have been poured and finished with CBD oil, and everyone is decked from head to toe in chic, eco-friendly linens. But just outside the manor, the ancient forest bristles with secrets, and the local community, they don't exactly appreciate the intrusion into the local woods, and they really, really are not fans of the attempts at privatizing the local beach. Sure, there have been a few small skirmishes here and there, but have you heard the whispers? You know, the ones about that old pagan folklore. It must be folklore, right? About the nightbirds? The avenging force that can be called upon to right wrongs when the law has failed the land? 36 hours after the manor's opening, the police are called and arrive to the aftermath of a fire and the discovery of a body. What happened in the last 36 hours at the manor? And who or what is the cause? Everyone had an agenda. Everyone had a secret. But not everyone survived the midnight feast. June 18th, The second book in the Threads That Bind series also comes out. It's called Hearts That Cut by Kika Hatsopulu. I did want to mention it, even though I won't be continuing the series. Some people loved it. I just found it too YA, but I did want to mention it. June 18th also brings us Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kirsten Miller. That is the same author of The Change, which I freaked out about last fall. I loved it so much. And this one sounds controversial. This is about two rivals down in a tiny little town in Georgia called Troy. Oh, a perfect place for a war, isn't it? Where these two were born and raised. Now, school board member Beverly Underwood is currently facing down new local semi-celebrity Lula Dean, and she got famous because she is campaigning to rid all of the public libraries of all their inappropriate books, none of which she's actually read. So to replace these word I can't say offensive books that she is currently challenging, Lula decides to create her own aesthetically pleasing free little library right in her front yard and fill it with books that she deems appropriate and necessary for well-bred young Southern folks. What she doesn't know is that her daughter Lindsay is ripping the covers off these books and then putting other books in their stead. The Southern Belle's Guide to Etiquette and Our Confederate Heroes. Yeah, underneath those are now things like The Girl's Guide to the Revolution and Beloved. One by one, lives are changed in kind of unexpected ways as people pick up these seemingly safe books and then read something else entirely. But when Beverly and Luna face off in the town's mayoral election, one of Lula's enemies apparently discovers what's going on with these books and exposes her, and then her daughter Lindsay has to come clean and be like, no, sorry, it was me. And then all the townspeople who've been reading these books and whose lives they've been changing and eyes they've been opening decide to come forward. And the town is apparently about to see a showdown that will change it forever. June 18th also brings us Love Unwritten. This is the second book in the Lakefront Billionaire series by Lauren Asher. And just look at this cover, okay guys? We've got grumpy single dad and hopeless romantic nanny who loves to write love songs. I haven't read the first book. I have not even finished the first series, but I just thought it'd be fun to give you a little preview of my 2025 Valentine's video, or maybe 2026. Depends how fast I get through Lauren Asher's books. On June 18th, we are also getting a Mulan-inspired retelling by Amber Chen called Of Jade and Dragons. And this will be the first in a series, apparently, called Fall of the Dragon. So our main girl, whose name I looked up how to pronounce and I still can't say right, Iwi Ying, dreams of becoming an engineer like her dad, but unfortunately, Daddy was just murdered and her life kind of falls apart. All she has left of him is this journal that has all of his engineering secrets and a jade pendant snatched from an assassin, I assume the assassin. So she decides that she's going to go to the Engineers Guild, which must have all the secrets of her father's hidden past. Maybe there she'll discover why someone would threaten a man who just decided to live a quiet life over fame and fortune, as apparently engineers get in that world. Disguised as her brother, here's the Milan part, Ying manages to infiltrate the guild's male-only apprenticeship with an unlikely ally, the 8th Prince of the High Command. He's a prince. Unfortunately, since her dad was famous, she kind of has a target on her back, and she has to stay ahead of her competitors, jealous guildmasters, and the killer's still hunting around for her father's journal. And of course, complicating everything are her increasingly tangled relationships with the prince, who may have some mysterious plans of his own. Ying kind of has no idea who to trust because the secrets within this guild are kind of as deadly as the weapons they build there. And basically she feels like her life and the future of her homeland are at stake. And meanwhile, she's kind of wondering at this point if she can avenge her father, if it means going against everything she stands for. June 25th brings another Christina Lauren. That's right, 2 months in a row. They were really busy. They're two besties who write together. If you didn't know, how cute is that? This is number 4 in the Meant to Be series. That's the adult Disney series. And this is about Wren, who spent most of her 22 years living off the grid on a homestead. So while she's never texted or Googled, she's read hundreds of books, taught herself to paint, and built a working wind power system. You go, girl. But now she has a chance to achieve her dream and attend Corona College. And that is exactly where Fitz is. And he is months away from graduating said college at the top of his class, which is part of his life plan, which also includes getting his criminal record wiped and passing himself off as the rich, handsome player that everybody thinks he is. When the two wind up on a road trip, thanks to an assignment in their immunology seminar, what kind of classes are y'all taking that you need to go on a road trip together? Anyway, the two are thrown out of the frying pan and into the fire and discover that maybe the key to their dreams is sitting right next. I love these Disney books so much, and don't be fooled by the Disney thing. They get good and steamy. It's Christina Lauren, guys. June 25th also brings us Foul Days, which I can't believe I haven't heard more about. This is the first book in a series called The Witch's Compendium of Monsters by Genevieve de Mova. And this is described as The Witcher plus Naomi Novik, rooted in Slavic folklore. I love that we're getting so much more diversity in our fantasy these days. So this is about Kasara, and she spends her days as a witch in the walled city of Chernograd. You know, doing the huge, taming rusalkas, fighting kikimoras, and brewing lycanthrope propellant. The only monster she can't defeat? Her ex. And no, I do mean he's like a literal monster, and unfortunately for her, he's the czar of monsters. Also, unfortunately for her, she's apparently defied him one too many times, and now he is hunting her down. When she is betrayed to him by someone close to her, and like, what a jerk, she has no choice but to sell her shadow, aka the source of all of her powers, to gain passage across the city's wall to Belgrade, where monsters cannot follow. And life should be lovely and peaceful there. Except Kasara catches the deadly wasting disease, the super fast version of it, and of course the only cure is getting her shadow back, since it only attacks witches who've given up their shadows. In order to get it back, she teams up with a detective who just so happens to be investigating the murder of the smuggler who brought her across the wall. Boy, that's not an ominous sign. And all clues, of course, unfortunately, wind up pointing to one of Zmi's, however you pronounce it, monsters having found a crack in the wall, and her ex himself now having her shadow. The clock is ticking, and now I have to ask, who is the hunter and who is the hunted? June 25th also brings us quite possibly my most anticipated book of June, which is a novel love story by one of my favorite authors, Ashley Poston. She's the one who wrote The 7-Year Slip and The Dead Romantics. So this is about Eileen Merriweather, and she loves to get lost in a good happily ever after, because fictional men don't leave you at the altar. She feels safe and right at home in books, which is exactly why she must attend her annual book club's retreat this year. When her car breaks down in this cute, quaint little town, she can't help but be charmed by it. Candy store's taffy is always sweet, and the bar's burgers are just always a tiny bit burnt. Who wants that? And there's always a rain shower in the afternoon. It's like something straight out of a novel. Her favorite novel. That's right, somehow, Elsie, apparently that's her nickname, is trapped in Allura Town, perfectly frozen in the author's last unfinished story in her favorite romance series. She's sure she's there to help end the story. Why else would she be there? But there's a character that she just can't quite seem to place while she is attempting to get the town to its storybook ending. He's this mint green-eyed, grumpy bookstore owner with great taste in novels and a sexy mouth, and he really doesn't seem to want her to finish the book, which might be a problem since Elsie is pretty sure she is not getting a happily ever after if the town doesn't. Now, if you are curious which book boxes are giving us special editions, let me give you a little sneak preview. In May, Fairyloot is giving us the Honey Witch! Sorry, that was obnoxious, but I am so excited, and I called this back in January. I was like, somebody is doing a special edition of this book. It is gorgeous, and bam, there it is. Their YA book will be The Temptation of Magic. Romantasy, it's an old release, A Curse of Blood and Wolves. I know a lot of people are like bummed out. I don't know if they're gonna keep pulling from old stuff. Don't ask me, I know nothing. Illumicrate is doing Goddess of the River, and Owlcrate is doing A Song of the Six Realms, which came out the previous month. Oh, and their adult book, if you follow that, is a duplicate with Fairyloot's last month, Evocation. Bookish Box and Darkly Box are both doing old books. They're called The Hollow Plane and The Silver-Tongued Devil and Devil in Boots. That's like a duology. And Moonlight Box, their first box, is going to be called The Seldom Wings, another old. Very curious to see what they'll be doing in the future, but here's a spoiler. I don't know what their June book is, and they have given no hints. But the June books that I do know, Fairyloot Adult, The God and The Gumiho, so that'll be fun. YA, Darkness Within Us, which is a July release. It is by Trisha Levenseller, and it is a companion novel to The Shadows Between Us. I'm curious. Didn't love The Shadows Between Us, but we'll see. I think choosing a companion novel is a bold choice. And Romantasy, Nectar of the Wicked, it's right on KU if you want to check it out. Illumicrate and Owlcrate both chose Of Jade and Dragons, and Owlcrate Adults chose Foul Days, which I desperately hope I'll be able to find if I don't make it off the waitlist. Bookish Box chose Until the Stars Fall, which sounds really good, but then their Darkly Box is Butcher and Blackbird, which I know a lot of people loved, but scares me to death. And I just decided to combine my boxes to save on shipping, and boy, now I can't skip one without skipping the other, so that was a choice. And Fox and Wit are apparently doing Running Close to the Wind, and I haven't seen anybody else doing any special editions of that, so won't that be fun for me to hunt down. That is all I have for you in terms of the special edition. That's all for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know down in the comments which books you're looking forward to the most, or if I missed any that you're looking forward to. Sorry, I can't possibly fit them all in this video. It was long enough. We all agree, right? Right. But I'll let you get back to your books and I'll be getting back to mine. It is a race to the finish for the end of the Aurelia Magical Readathon, and I have a lot of books to go. Okay, a lot of books. Please wish me luck. And good luck to you if this comes out before the readathon ends. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you for this video again in 2 months and for my Aurelium update again very soon. Did I finish all my majors? Did I finish the lore quest? I don't know. We'll find out together, guys. Bye!